Gotta be honest, Will, I thought that I was going to be opening this show on Sunday morning, but here we are, a Saturday night, 11:51 as my clock says, and the
Beautiful.
Ducks victorious once again, 34-13. They beat the UCLA Bruins, the number 8 team in the land, stays undefeated to improve to 4-0 coming off their bye week, and we will get into all of it. Ryan Buckley here with you, doing the heavy lifting and the analysis tonight, my friend Will Ortner on the other side of the grass. Of the glass, excuse me. Willie, how are we doing tonight?
Not too bad, man. I've had my shoes off for a while. The dogs are out, the dogs were out for the Oregon defense. They got after it, really shut down UCLA's offense. And look, offensively, there were a lot of good things, but there were also some weird bad things that keep popping up that worry me. And I'm sure we're going to get into all of that and more here coming up soon.
Yeah, a 21-point victory is one that is hard to have really many issues with, especially when it looks as good as it did for, 29 minutes and 45 seconds in the first half.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It was pretty good until the last 8.
Yeah, exactly right. But so we'll get into all of that. I saw an interesting note, though, on Twitter. This blew me away. Tonight's win, Oregon over UCLA, the Ducks' biggest win at the Rose Bowl ever in their history. 21 points. It eclipses their previous high of 18. They'd beaten UCLA in 2003 and 1989. So
is that only against UCLA? Because I feel like they beat Florida State way worse than that in that Rose Bowl. Tony Washington ran the ball back for them to win by like 25.
You know
right?
what? That's a good question. It might just be over UCLA, but now I have to check the box score for that one. I will do that in one of the breaks here. But let's talk a little bit about this football game because the first thing I want to get to this team is so loaded on offense, and obviously the defense has been nothing to sneeze at. But most of the headlines throughout the first 3 games of the season, the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks if you include the bye week, have been about the offense.
Mm-hmm.
But this week was, at least this game for me, was all about the defense. They did not allow a touchdown. The only touchdown UCLA scored was on the interception return. So they allowed 2 field goals all game. They were nearly perfect. They got up in Ethan Garber's kitchen plenty of times. They essentially knocked him out of the game. They put so much pressure on. They were dominant on the defensive front. They were dominant on the back end. They come up with a couple turnovers. Those takeaways had been lacking so far for this unit as well. But there was a lot to like at all 3 levels of the defense. When you looked at what Oregon did today, what stood out to you, Will?
I really like what the defensive line did getting after the quarterback. Again, another big game for Harmon. We keep mentioning him. He's got 1.5 tackles for loss in this game. He has a half sack. I felt like Birch was flying around, especially early. Now, he didn't have as many tackles as he normally does, but they were both for a loss. They were both in the backfield. Mm-hmm. They were both in big situations on like, hey, it's a 1st and 10. Now you're starting the other team behind the sticks. And it was obvious all game that UCLA, whether it was quarterback or whether it was the running backs, they didn't feel comfortable at all. They didn't get anything really going. Aside from the drive to start the game, they also didn't have many drives that strung together. Like, even their second field goal drive, they started at like the 35. Yeah. They got 1 or 2 first downs. There were a couple penalties in there that helped move them forward. That's why UCLA was in that game. Well, able to score in those situations. Aside from the first drive, you dominated them.
Mm-hmm. I want to remind everybody out there are a number of ways that you can reach us tonight. And being that this show is so late in the evening / morning, I want to get to all of your thoughts. So if you have thoughts about the Ducks game, you got questions for Will to analyze the game, let us know. You can reach us on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. That's 503-8646-FAN. Also, our YouTube channel. We are streaming over on YouTube at 1080 The Fan. The comments are open there as well. So let us know your thoughts on the game and really thoughts going ahead into Michigan State and the rest of the season, because I think there was a lot to like tonight, and there's a lot we want to clean up, as Will had mentioned as well. Lots of texts coming in on the Vancouver Ford text line. One from one of our favorite haters saying, running game still an issue, play calling is terrible, no improvement on offense. The Ducks came off a bye and looked like S against a terrible UCLA team. Ohio State's going to blow them out.
Maybe.
Ohio State could blow them out. I think most of that is a little bit harsh. I will Go ahead and move on to this next text that says, on the road versus a team full of guys who wanted to prove something versus Oregon. You're one slip up away from being up 35-3, and it's a complete blowout. They did seem to lose focus after that, which isn't ideal, but there was never a thought of them losing. Totally agree with that text.
It's the duality of man. Some of that is someone's trying to troll a little bit with the other one. Look, is there a chance that this Oregon team gets blown out by Ohio State? Yeah, but
maybe.
Isn't there also a possibility that they go in and they handle business? Like, I seem to remember the last time that Oregon and Ohio State played each other.
No one gave them a chance.
Everyone had pretty much said that game was over because of how they played against Fresno State. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say everything that I saw from this Oregon team tonight is going to lead to them beating Ohio State. That's just not where they're at right now. But at the same time, you're dealing with a lot of circumstances here that you're not going to deal with in a lot of the rest of your games.
Yeah.
Like, you played the game at 8:00 at night. No one was there in the stadium, so you got to come with your own juice. You have a momentum shift. You come out flat at halftime. Is it ideal? No. Are there things that you need to fix? Yes. There are still issues in the red zone. You need to come away with more points. You cannot have the boneheaded, no focus penalties that keep popping up on this offensive line and really in this offensive unit as a whole. That being said, there's plenty to work on. Tez Johnson keeps getting open. Trayshawn Holden has another big time play. Jordan James, hey, it wasn't his best game.
It was still...
He ran for 5 a carry.
Yep, still got over the century mark.
103. He averaged 5 a carry. The problem is we were so spoiled last year because him and Bucky were averaging 8 and 6 every single game that you think, oh, this Oregon team, they're worse than they were last year. They've taken a step back. It's not as clean as it was last year, but the sky isn't falling. Go to bed. Touch grass.